Hey everyone, this is Kenji. Today in our continuing quarantine cooking series, I'm going to be making pasta alla Gricia. I've already done two of the classic Roman pasta dishes, my bastardized version of Cacio and Pepe and amatriciana. So today we're going to do alla Gricia, which is one of the oldest ones. Maybe it's the oldest of them, but it's relatively simple. It's a sauce of guanciale. In this case, I'm just using some pancetta that my sous chef Eric made. The difference between that guanciale is cured pork jowl, whereas pancetta is cured pork belly. Guanciale has a kind of funkier flavor than pancetta does, but pancetta works just fine, or even bacon works just fine. So this dish is pasta with guanciale or pancetta, black pepper, and pecorino romano cheese, which is from, again, Lazio, not, as I once said, Emilia-Romagna, which is silly of me. Silly. All right, I'm gonna get this going. I'm gonna add a little bit of water here. This is just a different way to do it. You can start with a little bit of oil. If you want olive oil, I'm starting with a little bit of water, and what that's gonna do is that it's gonna get the fat rendering a little bit, so by the time the water evaporates, there's gonna be a nice layer of fat in the bottom of the pan, so that the pancetta can start to crisp without really sticking to the pan. That's probably more pancetta than I need, so I'll save some of that later. All right, I'm also gonna get a pot of water going. Season it not as heavily as you would normal pasta water, because we're going to be incorporating quite a bit of it into the sauce and we don't want it to become too salty. We got rigatoni. You can also make this with something like bucatini or spaghetti. Rigatoni is pretty classic also. And again, you want to look for like the relatively nice stuff made on a brass die so that it has this white sort of starchy surface, because that surface starch is what's going to go off into the water and help your sauce emulsify. You don't need to wait for your water to come to a boil. Woo! I'm going to use about half of this, I think. Half of that. Have you ever noticed? So all the Roman pasta dishes, by the way, are based off similar flavors. So black pepper, pecorino, guanciale, and those are sort of the, oops, that's a little bit too much black pepper. Those are the basic flavors of Roman pasta dishes. Have you ever noticed how if you take a Three Musketeers bar is just nougat coated with chocolate, and then if you add caramel to it, it becomes a Milky Way bar, or a Mars bar if you're in the UK, and then if you add peanuts to that, it becomes a Snickers, and then if you take away the nougat, it becomes a Baby Ruth. So they're all kind of just like variations of the same thing, and that's kind of like what Roman pasta dishes are. So Cacio e Pepe is just black pepper and pecorino romano. If you add some guanciale to it, it becomes alla Gricia. That's Gricia. And if you add tomatoes to that, it becomes amatriciana. And if you take away the tomatoes and add an egg, it becomes carbonara. So they're all variations on the same theme. Got our black pepper here. I'm going to take some pecorino. Black pepper, you don't have to do it in the mortar and pestle, in the molcajete in this case, but I like how the control you get over the size of the grind, and also gives you a little bit of variation in texture. I like it better than doing it in a pepper mill. Certainly better than doing pre-ground stuff. So I think that was half a pound of pasta. You don't have to be super precise in the measurements. That was about half a pound of pasta, probably about the same amount of pancetta, although I'll take some of that pancetta out. And this is like an ounce and a half of pecorino romano. Sheep's milk cheese, aged. If you don't have it, can't get it, you can use Parmesan. It'll work just fine, it'll taste different. Parmesan's not quite as kind of, I don't know what you call it, piquant. Not quite as sharp. Definitely not as barnyardy. You get the kind of barnyardiness from the sheep. Yum. All right, let's see how we're doing over here. So you can see that water just about evaporated off, and some of the fat from the pancetta has already started rendering, and that's what's going to let it crisp up nicely. You can use this trick anytime you're doing sort of bacon lardons, pancetta, guanciale, any kind of fatty pork product that you want to crisp up in the skillet. I'll be back in about, probably 6 minutes. I wanted to quickly, while we're here, well, first of all, I want to give where'd my spoon go? Oh, right here. Give the pancetta a little toss. You can definitely see now all that fat coming out, right? And also, it's okay that we're getting a little bit of browning on the sides of the pan here. All that stuff we're going to deglaze, and it's going to add flavor to the sauce later on. By the way, moderately low heat here. We don't want to go too fast because we want it to render nice and slow. Plenty of fat to render out. And the nice thing is, by the time this pancetta is rendered, that's about the time it takes for the pasta to cook. We're looking for shy of al dente. So this stuff reaches al dente, well, the box says 12 minutes. So we're going to cook it for about 9 or 10 minutes and test it then. We're looking for shy of al dente, so not quite completely finished. So that way we can add it to the pancetta. We'll add a little bit of pasta water, and we'll finish it in the other pan. What I was going to show you, people ask me what these things are. These are, they're called Chef's Press. You can get them, you know, honestly, I'm not sure where you get, I'm not sure if you get them retail, but you can definitely get them like at restaurant supply stores. You can probably get them online. Go to thechefspress.com, thechefspress.com. They're nice because they come in a variety of weights. You can use one individually. They allow for some moisture to escape. But the nice part about them is they actually interlock, so you can put a whole bunch of them like this, and then you pick them up all at once. So if you have you can adapt them to whatever size piece of meat or bread or whatever you have. And what they really are useful for is if you're working on something like this. Back here, this is, by the way, is a baking steel griddle that fits over 2 of these things. You can go to bakingsteel.com. It's great for when you have something like that, a plancha or a griddle like that. Keeps your bacon flat, it gets your salmon skin nice and crispy, makes your grilled cheese toast evenly. They're really useful. I like them. All right, we're getting there on this pancetta. Pasta is still quite hard. Probably a few more minutes. All right, I'll come right back again. All right, and I'm back. The rigatoni has just a couple more minutes to go, I think. But the guanciale is basically there. So it's all brown, nicely browned and rendered on most sides. It's getting nice and crispy. We don't want it to cook. We don't want it to overcook and start burning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this out because I'm saving it for something else. There's a little bit too much in there. Take some of that out. I'll save that for another guy. Now what I'm going to do is just going to take a little bit of pasta water. Just a touch. I'm going to start forming this sauce. So you can see this pasta water is really nice and starchy. You see how kind of white and cloudy it is. That's a good thing because that's what's going to make our sauce emulsify, and it's what's going to keep our cheese from clumping when we add it. If you've ever tried just tossing cheese with pasta, with hot pasta, you'll know that it tends to clump up, separate, gets greasy and clumpy, and it's not good. But if you add pasta water to it, starchy pasta water, that starch sort of interferes with the cheese proteins clumping up, and it keeps the cheese nice and creamy and smooth. All right, you can see I've deglazed the pan, so it's got that kind of nice, picked up all that nice color from the guanciale. Sorry, the pancetta. Alla Gricia, I believe it's actually the oldest of the 4 Roman pasta dishes. Something like, oh, I'm going to get this wrong again. I always get things wrong when I pull them off the top of my head, but I think it's like 400 AD, something like that. All right. That pasta is just shy of al dente. If I leave it boiling in there for another couple minutes, it would be perfectly done. So now we're going to take it out, put it into the skillet. Start tossing a little. All right, I'm going to get my cheese. Putting about half an ounce of it. A little more pasta water. Now I know people in the comments are going to start saying, "Oh, put the cheese on heat." You know what? I'm going to do that. I miscalculated the size of that pot. So what it is, let's switch over to here. Pasta's a little bit too much pasta for this pan. You want to have enough room in your pan to be able to toss without spraying your stovetop, right? There you go. People are going to tell me, oh, don't put the cheese on with heat because it'll clump. It's not going to clump as long as you have enough pasta water, and as long as it's starchy enough, your cheese is going to be just fine. And I like to put it on heat so that I can finish cooking the pasta in the sauce. More pasta water. Oh, now people are going to start telling me about how to fix that clicking on my stove. Yeah, I know my stove clicks just because I got the sensor wet. I apologize. Let's go into the rest of that cheese. Oop, almost forgot the other important ingredient. Now, what you can do if you want, and what I did with my Cacio e Pepe, is that I took some of that pepper and I bloomed it in the, in that dish I did it, bloomed it in olive oil. And this one you can bloom it in that guanciale or pancetta fat before you start adding pasta water. You just add the black pepper in there. Let it sizzle a little bit. You want to do it basically until the pepper starts to kind of foam up. And what that does is it develops the flavor a little bit. It gives it a kind of sweetness. And then I would add a little bit more fresh black pepper at the end. So you can see that sauce starting to get nice and creamy. We're gonna let it reduce a little bit more. It's still a little too thick, but important thing is cheese not clumping, everything staying nice and smooth, emulsified. I'm gonna grab a little more cheese actually. Smell that cheese and that pepper. Good stuff. All right. I think we're just about done. One more tiny splash of pasta water. Just to finish it off. So if you ever see your sauce starting to break, that is the sort of fat separating from it, or the cheese starting to clump up, just throw in a little splash more pasta water. Heat it up a little. Constant agitation, and it should come right back together. All right, and I think we're done. Let's get this into a bowl. So you can see how it's nicely coated. Finish it off with a little bit more black pepper. And of course, a little more pecorino. And there we go. That is pasta alla Gricia, one of the 4 classic Roman pasta dishes. Let me bring it over to the light so you can see it a little better. So I really want you to see how, so you can see when you pick up a piece, it's coated, kind of glazed in a sauce. And it's delicious. All right, guys. See you next time. Oh, almost forgot. Here, dog. Sit. Sit. Good girl.